Welcome back to another video. My name is lunarwaslost, sending out a lot of love to folks. Today I'm watching the Dying Light 2 hands-on preview uploaded by GameSpot, and yeah, as requested. Let's check it out. If you want me to react to anything, leave it down below. There may be a lot of pausing in this because, I don't know. There's just maybe pausing in this. That's what I would make you sure of.
This is Kurt and Davina reading for Mark Delaney.
Mark
As
Delaney,
a lover of all things
narrated by Kurt.
Undead, I ranked 2015's Dying Light in the upper tier of zombies.
First thing I noticed, see, this is why I gotta pause. The fall is upon us. Dude's reading a flaming newspaper for whatever reason. They definitely did this little cinematic shot just to be cool. They said, yeah, let's make it look cool. Let's match it with back here. But you know what's a little bit funny is this is a zombie, I think. Is when they're obviously opening fire on a zombie. But by 2024, most of humanity had lost to the virus. Oddly enough, I don't know how deep you gamers are into spirituality or esoteric shit or spiritual shit. I had a vision back in 2018 that if, humanity, let's say, doesn't get their shit together, we're probably going to be fucked by 2025. So I think that's a little weird synchronicity that by 2024 most of humanity has been lost to the virus.
Sagas. It built on the RPG light framework of Techland's previous effort, Dead Island.
And it's called The Fall. Interesting.
With better writing and the exciting,
I don't know the Dying Light lore, so
new element of parkour. Thus, 2018's reveal of Dying Light 2 was a big deal for me. But the years since have seen the game's prospects take blow after blow due to in-house controversies and several delays. Now the team at Techland has only a few short months before the sequel's February 4th release date, but this one might just stick the landing. I was able to check out a portion of the game spanning 4 hours of hands-on time in 2 regions and across 2 platforms. And while I have questions still to answer on my own time, I'm left feeling fairly confident that this will be a better game than the great original, even as many of its new toys come from other open-world games. The build I played was about a month old and kicked off in the game's opening region of Old Villador. This was, as the lead game designer explained it, a tamer region meant to allow players to get grips to the game's melee combat and parkour moves, and come to understand how to manage crowds of infected and survivors alike. The first thing I realized when I started playing Dying Light 2 was how fluid the movement felt. Smart changes like faster strafing and backpedaling.
Boom. And good for me to take a pause right there, because that's what I was about to say. It seems like right off the bat when he said this is clearly going to, well, I'm saying it now based on what he said, but practically what he's saying is this is going to be a better game. And I could see that right away from the combat. The combat does look as smooth as they've been hyping it to be. It looks way more fluid. It looks way more fluid and I haven't played, it hasn't been a long time since I played Dying Light 2 because I downloaded it and beat it again. And then I was doing the DLC, but I stopped. But I played it again just to give me that same feel from when it came out and I played it. And I can already tell it looks way better, but obviously it's going to be better than the last game.
And an always-on sprint ability make the anti-hero protagonist Aiden Caldwell feel more adept at performing his death-defying feats than Kyle Crane ever was. He's lighter on his feet, and animations are smoother, even from the get-go. And despite me seeing some really tantalizing skills not yet unlocked during my play sessions, I especially loved how quickly I was able to intuit whether or not I could make any particular jump. The mechanics are improved across the board and give the controls a faster, more reliable feeling in my hands. The original Dying Light felt great in 2015, and for the most part, still did when I went back to it to refresh my memory a few weeks ago.
Literally what I just said I did.
The environments feel like they have many more opportunities for creative parkouring. More ledges to climb the sides of buildings like its first-person Assassin's Creed. More ways to scale the world like ropes to swing on and winches to fling you upward. And better spaced objects that promise leaping before looking isn't always going to be fatal like it was before. The lead game designer told me that parkour was the thing that Techland thought it could bring to the crowded zombie genre, even beyond games. The freedom of movement is what set Crane's story apart from not just DayZ or Left 4 Dead, but also things like Max Brooks' World War Z book or Romero's Dawn of the Dead. In Dying Light 2, the signature element seems to be markedly better. While parkour feels like a strength being made stronger, the first game's story wasn't as impressive, so there's arguably even more room for Dying Light 2 to grow there.
True.
Based on my time with it so
yeah.
far, I'd say things are more interesting, even if still a bit uneven. The somewhat muted emotions each character wears on their face is not a new issue to RPGs. Bethesda has been getting by with virtual mannequins for decades, but Dying Light 2 doesn't look like it will.
Virtual mannequins. that was good. I was just about to say something about the story and say, yeah, hopefully that they build a little bit. I didn't actually have a problem with the story in the first one. It was kind of like just one of those over the shoulder, kind of like brush it off, like cool story. Kind of felt the type of way when what's her name sacrificed herself for Kyle Crane. Oh shit. There cannot be anyone who still hasn't played Dying Light 1, right? All right, I'm sorry that I just spoiled that. Oh, well, you don't know who I'm talking about. Maybe there's multiple people who said
will break that mold. Similarly, with so many characters to meet, from merchants to major players and everything in between, I've already seen a wide array of performances and characterizations. A father-son pair of Italian traders feel especially like caricatures. I do wish the game would go all in on its fascinating modern Dark Ages setting and stick to the more serious stuff. But as before, it seems Techland will mix in plenty of offbeat characters who may screw with the overall tone more than I'd personally enjoy. Where the story does seem to have improved is in its emphasis on player choices and consequences. According to the lead game designer, this was the hardest part of development, leading me to understand that beyond the ousted writers and COVID obstacles, Techland has simply had its hands full trying to keep all possible stories on their tracks. Major choices mostly appear to be binary and often revolve around siding with one of two factions, the ragtag survivors or the authoritative peacekeepers. Binary choices can feel a bit dated in 2021, given that so many games have moved on to swim in grayer waters. But even if the system isn't revolutionary, it does seem to improve this particular series. It never allowed for this.
That's actually good, yeah, because honestly, even though it's not a way grander aspect of like storytelling, just having the two sides to choose, the original Dying Light, I'm literally saying exactly what he said, but the original Dying Light, at least it's an upgrade from that. Though, knowing that, they kind of should have avoided this or added one option that I think games like this should add. If there's two people you have to side with, I feel there should always be the decision not to side with either. Like, that should always be a written in story. Like, that should be a given with any game that makes you choose between two sides. Because sometimes you want to go, fuck it. Why I don't want to side with both. Like, fuck them. And then go on your own way. Or let the story unfold where you continue to work for both. And maybe get so far to where then you finally say, fuck it, I'm not working for both anymore. But there should always be a side where you can choose yourself and not either side, because that just seems like still forced choices, and that doesn't really seem too I don't know, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't seem too free as a game that says, oh, we have choices in our game would make you feel like, oh, you dialogue options that we are kind of working you on certain paths. You don't really have freedom. It's like illusionary freedom.
This type of player agency before, save for a dramatic final scene. Each decision, I was told, changes a great deal of what players can see in the game from that point on. Some characters will simply cease to exist and close off narrative branches for players. On top of altering the story, you'll alter the world around you. An early decision I made would have given me car alarm traps with which I could distract the infected, but as I sided with the survivors, I instead saw zip lines installed across the city. There seemed to be about 10 major decisions to make according to an unlock tree I saw, meaning going down opposite paths across two playthroughs would result in starkly different cities in the end. Sometimes changes will reveal consequences hours later, which I saw when I made it to the game's second major region, the Central Loop, with its high-rise buildings taller than anything the series has ever featured. As my last mission demanded I scurried across an open area quickly, I relied on my newly installed zip lines to beat the enemies to their would-be explosive finale. Had I sided with the Peacekeepers earlier, I'd not have been stranded, but my particular solution wouldn't have worked, and I would have had to find another way across the Devil's Playground. The ziplines felt like the right call in that moment, but of course, if the concept fulfills its promise, there will be times in the game where I'll wish I had those car alarm traps instead. Along with these major inflection points, Dying Light 2 rounds out its story with more dialogue options, so even side missions and briefer interactions can change your course in some ways. It's not just about the major story beats. Things like an awesome glider that can open on demand, many more enemy types, especially among the zombies, and ample distractions via multicolored mini-map markers signal that this is a game built on its own sturdy foundation, but with many of the tools of open-world predecessors. Dying Light didn't have a ton to do beyond the critical path, and those sandbox players have seen its new toys before. I can say as a fan of the series that I'm glad to see the sequel's world is filled in a lot more. Dying Light 2 feels familiar, but not in a bad way. The additions, be it the original or a derivative, tend to feel like good fits for this world. And because the game's most special aspect, the parkour movement abilities, are clearly improved, it feels like Dying Light 2 is both a bigger and better sequel. Blatantly inspired by juggernauts such as The Witcher, Zelda, and Assassin's Creed in different parts, Dying Light 2 still feels like it will manage to leave its mark on the sandbox formula. With the fluidity of a fountain, the exciting parkour should prove to be its signature when Dying Light 2 launches next February.
Okay. We had a cool ending. Is it a guide down fade to black? Just gameplay? Magic, they came out of nowhere. I'm not gonna lie, that shout out to all of them. What I will say is, I'm not really sold. I can't lie, I'm not sold. In my other reactions to, oh wow, that's 555. That's fucking funny. Guess I'm on the right path. Well, I'm not really sold on the gameplay or the game. I'm not really sold. What I am glad about something though. Okay, it's actually a couple things. I'm someone who always is seeing things on both sides. So for me, I'm glad to get a new updated Dying Light 2, but I'm not sold on the whole, this is definitely a better installment. Like, it feels like when it comes out, and it's funny, and I'm glad because I know following my, there's fucking fruit flies. Okay. I was right about this with the GTA reaction. I got dislikes on that video, and then it turns out that shit wasn't actually that good. And that's where I'm kind of going with this too. I feel like honestly it's just common sense to keep your expectations low, and then if the game comes out way better, like, it makes the game easier. It gives the game wiggle room to come out and be way better if your expectations are low. And that's where I am with this. I've watched so much content to do with Dying Light 2 because I love Dying Light. It's just one of the most unique games, you can't lie. Parkouring, zombies, they did it right. And it made a big impact when it first came out. But now that I'm starting to see more of this, it actually is going down. It's making me less excited. I feel like the mystery and how part of the mystery of this and not getting too much footage made it a bit better. But now as we got the footage and, we got the hands-on preview and stuff, and a little more looking at how the decisions are going to affect the plate, like how the world is, I don't know. So one, it doesn't look open world. You're choosing zones. So I don't know. That's not bad, but I'm not. That's like the old one. You know, you went to the city that like the I forgot what the city was called, and you traveled between those like two places. But as for me, I guess I'll just like stay on what I really want to say is like the combat at the end. Look, like this was not a good way to end. This looks super fucking boring. I can't lie. This just did not look fun to do. I can't. I don't know. I don't got any more to say. That shit looked boring. And then right here kind of looked fun. I mean, you know, stuff looks like it's got a lot of health. Like, what difficulty is this? I don't know. I would say realism aside, but I mean, whacking into a human with an electrified meat cleaver, that deep of a health bar, I'm just not so sure. I don't know. There is the aspect of like, I'm acting like I haven't played games before. I get it, but it just I don't know. It just seems like they just had a little bit too much health. I don't know. Probably could be scaled down a little bit. Like, look at it's like he's like cleaving heavy hits. It looks like the armor on his face made sense, I guess. And you can knock them down. You could affect their limbs and shit, right? Yeah. I don't know. Really Dead Island-y, but I mean they're the makers of Dead Island. Which it does. It follows a good formula. If it's not broke, don't fix it. They added on. It looks like they literally added on top of the stuff that they already have, and I'm glad. And I've literally said that in the other videos I watched. They look like they're a development team or game development team, whatever, that finally gets it. They are doing the whole if it's not broke, don't fix it, just improve on it formula that a lot of games should follow. If they had a bomb ass game, just make the next one the same way you did that one, but then add on shit that, you know, suggestions or things that you would even think make it better. In this whole blown out thing though, I feel like this was kind of hype now that I see this preview. I think that the whole choice of how the story unfolds thing is a little bit hyped because it's not really choice. It seems like you got maybe at the least 6 different endings, and I'm not talking about the endings being bad or how you may end up at the endings. The game could have one overall ending, but affecting the world should be like really free of choice, you know. But they got a lot on their hands, and from what I'm hearing, and I'm just taking it as, you know, I can't really speak for too much. I'm not saying like any of this is bad, but it just seems like I think the fucking affecting the city was such one of the big like marketing things that was put aside when Dying Light 2 started first getting its hype. Which you're going to be able to affect how the world changes and shit like this, but it feels minimal. It literally feels like, oh, you did this time, so in this playthrough, do this time and see what happens. And then it's like, there's not much different. Like, it's not much different. You're just going to get different gadgets and things in the city. Like, I wanted to see like bigger drastic changes. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm just talking too much. But it's just, I don't know. I guess we'll see when it comes out. It doesn't seem like too much of an upgrade from the last game now that I'm seeing it. That's what I'll say. But I guess we'll see. Like, it doesn't seem like for gameplay wise and fluidity and it being smooth, that seems like an upgrade. It does. But it doesn't seem like it's a crazy upgrade. Hope that makes sense. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.